Thank you so much, Alan. Really looking forward to having you join us on our broadcast today.
It's a pleasure, likewise. I'm very pleased.
Amazing. Well, we'll just jump straight on in with our formal interview questions then. So the first question is, how and when were you first introduced into the hospitality sector?
Well, I think as a young kid, I had to basically, I had no choice. I had to follow the rhythm of the family's life. And as a little baby in my cot, I was left behind the counter of the bar at Le Gavroche in the late 60s, while my mum could go and do some shopping. So that was it, really.
So it really was that you are born and raised within this industry, hey?
Indeed, very early stage.
Amazing. So would you be able to talk us through a little bit about your career to date?
Well, my career really started as a professional young pastry chef. I started an apprentice in Paris. That was for 2 years. And after that, I moved into cooking. And I worked in a 3 Michelin star restaurant, and I passed an exam, like an apprentice exam, after a year. And that was the beginning of my career. So I was about 16 years old. And to get my diploma in pastry took me 2 years, and in the kitchen 1 year.
Amazing. And since then, have you worked in lots of different kitchens, or have you worked in kind of one company through your career?
Yes, I stayed in France and worked for 8 years in total. So I worked in 5 different restaurants. One were 1 Michelin star, some others had 2 Michelin stars, and a couple of them had 3 Michelin stars. So it's not all about the stars. It's mainly, I was looking for chefs or family businesses, actually, where I could have a glimpse of what to expect when I was going back home, and different sizes of concept. A handful of chefs in the team, as well as a brigade of 80 plus chefs. So I could have really a good idea of what I liked and what I was looking and aiming for in my career.
Amazing. And you obviously entered the industry fresh out when you were a little child. So how much has the industry changed since you first joined it?
Quite a fair bit.
I can imagine.
But in a good way. In a good way. I know for the oldie, it's always difficult. I don't think there's any age to say, I shouldn't say oldie. I think anyone in your career, when you have changes, it's never easy to change. And the laws are the laws. You've got to follow them, and it makes you change sometimes the way you live, sometimes the way you work, and your organization. But it's for the better. You have to live with your time. So yes, there's been massive changes. You're not only talking about the style of what is in the plate, but it's how you source your ingredients, how you think of your produce, and how you recruit, how you teach young people, how you try to retain your people, and how you try to continue and stay a long-term business.
And now in your job, what does a typical day look like for you from kind of waking up?
It's always difficult to wake up, to be honest. Unfortunately, I'm more a night person. What I love about my life is not a day is the same. And it does only represent this wonderful industry, which is the hospitality industry, is that not a day is the same. We look at different customers, we look at different produce coming to us, different dishes, different menus, and of course, different customers. Some might come back for different occasions and different expectation, but we've got always different customers coming to us, and not a day is the same. So not a day is the same for me. and I try not to do the same every day.
That must be so nice to be able to have that flexibility in your career and still be excited each day to wake up and go to work, because you know it's not going to be the same as the last day that you had.
Exactly. You always have to be ready for any kind of challenge. And this is what I love, is challenges and trying to please people, not only the people you work with and work for you, but it's your, of course, your team, it's your core, heart of your business, but it's your customers. They just expect, to get something which represents your house, your heart, your life, and sharing what you know best is giving a service, greeting people. And it starts actually from when you take a reservation, a booking, is the way you handle all that. And when you greet people, the way you look after them, the way you smile and you speak at them, and what you prepare for them, what you have as an offering on dishes, menus, specialities of the day, speciality of the week, you know, preparing ingredients and cooking ingredients to make a lovely dish and create a lovely menu. It's something which is wonderful. It's a big challenge, but it's really the reward out of it is pleasing people and making people happy. For me, this is what I love in the industry.
Amazing. It's been so nice for me, actually. I've gotten to speak to quite a lot of chefs this week as part of this campaign. And one thing that stood out through all of the chats that I've had is that element of teamwork and working with your team and how important it is and how that's such a highlight. So how do you work with your team to come up with new ideas for new dishes and be creative?
Well, we're lucky here at the Waterside Inn. We're a team of about 80 plus people. If you look at, because we are a restaurant with rooms, so we have 12 bedrooms. We don't like to call ourselves hotel because we certainly don't have the facility of a five-star hotel or a nice hotel, but they're very, very cozy bedrooms, and they're more what we would see for a 1 or 2 night stay. So we have, a doorman, we have a gardener, we have front of house people from receptionists to head waiters to barmen to wine waiters. We've got chambermaids, breakfast team. We've got pastry chefs, baker. We have young cooks, head chefs. I mean, in the kitchen on its own, we're over 25 chefs, about 28 at the moment. So what I like is to have a really a versatile team, different people from different backgrounds, men, ladies, different age. And I love to see people climbing the ladder because I think everybody should be given that opportunity, like I was given that chance. And it's nothing more rewarding to see people grow and learn. Like I love to learn from young people, and I learn a lot from the young generation. That's why, and it keeps me young. That's why I love to employ young people.
Amazing. And that must be so nice for a lot of our young people watching today, because we may have young people listening now who would really love to work in the hospitality industry, but don't necessarily want to be a chef or don't necessarily see themselves in the kitchen. So it's really great that you can highlight all of the different careers and jobs that that are involved in the hospitality industry. So that's really useful.
It's so versatile, our industry. It's certainly, I think it's the most beautiful industry in the world. And it's so easy to do. Yes, it's maybe hard work, but when you love something, it's not work anymore. It's natural. It comes naturally, and you can produce hospitality in so many different ways, so many different places. It can be on a train, on a plane. It can be on a boat, on a ship. It can be on a very remote area. It can be in a major city, and it can make you travel to work in the industry. You can learn different languages as well, see different, discover food trends as well, and history. visiting countries and different markets.
Yeah, there really is a wealth of opportunities that you get through this industry. And now some of our young people watching may be thinking about going into this industry and thinking about training. You briefly touched on doing an apprenticeship. Would you be able to tell us a little bit more about your experiences of training to be a world-class chef? What did it involve and what did you learn?
Well, you never stop learning. That's the first thing you have to be aware. And I think the best, or one of the best things my father taught me was a phrase that he said it to me, I think, once only, but I heard him saying it to other people, is that if you know it all, you should change job, because you never know it all. And I think it's true. You really, when you start in this industry, you have to make sure that you understand that you have to follow certain rules, and you have to find motivation, self-motivation, and you need to have people around you that can motivate you, and you have to try to reach certain goals. But for that, you have to give first and make sure that you are following the rules of the punctuality. You have to make sure that you show that you're interested and you're here on time, or even a few minutes before the time you're meant to be there. It's all about discipline as well, and the way your attitude, the way you stand, the way you present. You need to make sure that you look good, even if you're in the backstage. You need to follow the rules of, having short, clean nails and short hair, nicely groomed, and everything else. It's all about health and safety and hygiene as well. And it's if you have the right discipline, you will get the respect not only from other colleagues, but from the customer, which is very important. And learning skills is what you have to be ready for. Never go too fast. Always a step at a time, and learn from what you see around you. The best thing will happen around you. Don't be scared to ask questions, and take the time to climb the ladder. It's better to master something and learn how to do something, and after learn how to do it fast at a different pace, before doing more responsibility and taking more works on your shoulder. So, and learn from people around you. They're normally more skilled because they've been there before you. So take the time to learn your skills and perfection your skills.
Amazing. Some really, really a great piece of advice. I especially liked when you said taking it one step at a time. I think sometimes our young people, we see really, really successful people that come and do these broadcasts, which is amazing. But obviously you didn't become super successful overnight. It takes years. So yeah, just putting one goal in front of you is a really, really great piece of advice for our young people there. So yeah, thanks for that. And now kind of leading on from that, obviously you've had a super successful career now, but I'm sure it wasn't all kind of sunshines and rainbows. So what has been the biggest challenge that you faced in your career, and how did you overcome that?
Oh, I've had so many, and I'm sure I'll have more to come. I hope so. Um, yeah, I think it's one of them was coming to work for my father and joining the team at the Waterside Inn. Working for 8 years, as I said, I was very happy to work in France and learn my trade over there. It was a bigger eye-opener, and I've taken so much from the restaurant I work. But working for your own father and coming back home, but at the same time, I never really worked at the Waterside, was, difficult. It was difficult because I knew my father, but not that much, because he had a busy life and a busy work life. So I've took years to learn about my father and learn from my teacher. He became my best and longest teacher until he passed away 3 years ago. It was working with your father, working in a family business. that's what you realize, that it's not easy. There's some ups and downs, but we managed to pull out and retreat ourselves in a small closed uh, area and discuss things, put things clear on the table to make sure we understand each other and we knew what to do. And yeah, you have to bend yourself both ways. Like my dad had to accept certain things. It takes time. It takes time to learn to each other and to learn about people and understand people and understand the trade and the business, because it's the same. Being a chef is one thing, but running the being in charge of a team, like a team of 25, 30 chefs, is another thing, and running a restaurant, is another thing, and having bedrooms on top of that is even better. It's the challenge of almost running a business day and night. So yeah, it was difficult to know each other as a father and son, and to learn and work together. But a very good challenge.
Yeah, and I imagine it's hard at the time, but then as you kind of learn and get older, then you get the beauty of being able to work with your family every day, which not many people get that unique opportunity to get to spend so much time together. So yeah, I can imagine it was a challenge at the time though.
It was, some days were not very easy, but you're looking at days in a year, and now I've been at the waterside 30 years, and I don't regret anything. I took the position, as my father said, well, come and work for the summer and do a season. We'll see what happens. And I guess cheap labor made it that I stayed on, and I've been here 30 years. And last year we celebrated 50 years of the opening of the Waterside Inn,
Wow.
from when my father and uncles opened the Waterside Inn in 1972. So it's a massive achievement, and I'm so proud of my father, my uncle, all the people who have run through the kitchen, the front of house, and have made what the Waterside Inn is about.
That's amazing. And I mean, you touched then on a few of the highlights you've had over your career. Can you pick out a career highlight and why that would be, or is there just too many to mention?
Uh, the highlight is maybe to look after some very special guests. Um, Sometimes it could be family members. Sometimes people that have got a name, a face that you might have seen in the press or on television, and certainly one of them is the royal family. That's really something which is is always exclusive when it happens.
Yeah, that must have been pretty special. I can't imagine how nervous you must be when you're hosting or cooking for the royal family or those big names. I guess it never gets easier, hey?
Never, but no. Funny enough, you kind of get used to it. I was lucky to encounter, to meet, or uh, to look after some very well-known people when I was a young military person. When I did my year military service in Paris, and I did my classes, and after my classes, I did almost a year in a kitchen, and that was at the Élysée Palace in Paris. And at that time, the president was François Mitterrand. So I've managed to look after Monsieur Mitterrand and his close relatives, and as well being able to, with the main kitchen over there, to look after special events. And we used to uh, greet over there, of course, as you know, a lot of well-known people. So there were some very official special events, and yeah, it was extraordinary, a very much a lovely experience in my life.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And I mean, I'm sure when you were starting out in your career, you could have never predicted that these amazing things were going to happen. So going back, if you could give one piece of advice to yourself when you were starting out in your career, what would you tell your younger self?
Definitely take the time to make sure that you choose what you want to do and what you like. That you Because in the hospitality, like in a lot of industry, there's so much choice. Uh, can be fast food, it can be working in a pizzeria, it can be, it doesn't need to be fine dining. I love fine dining, but I love brasserie, a good pub as well. But as a day-to-day job, I'm more on the fine dining. But it's trying to make sure that you have a chance to touch everything, an experience in every domain, that you're doing the right choice and you can move forward into that direction.
Amazing. Yeah, that's some really great advice for our young people as well, who maybe aren't so sure what they want to do in the future. The more things you try out, the more areas or sectors you try, you're going to work out what you don't want, and then hopefully work out what you do want to do.
Take the time during weekends or your school holiday. Take the time to do some trials. Work even for free or for a little pocket money. It doesn't matter. Just for the experience. Have a little trial somewhere, and it's just gaining experience. If you don't do it, you don't know.
100%, couldn't agree more. Amazing. So this is actually going to be now our last question of the questions that we've pre-prepared, and then we'll move on to our student Q&A, which is, as I said, a lot of young people watching today may be thinking about a career within the hospitality sector. So what are some of the key skills that young people need in order to be successful within your sector?
Well, they need to be patient. They need to be able to respect people around you and respect their hierarchy, but they need to be a team player. Um, be able to work as a team is extremely important. Communication is crucial. People around you and to understand as well what other people are doing. And it's keeping communication in your team, could be kitchen or front of house, but it's as well understanding and getting that communication going from the front of house to the kitchen and vice versa. It's two different jobs, but we can't work and live without each other. And we need to understand each other. When you're working front of house, you're directly in front of the guest, and you know, and you understand the expectation of the guest. And when you're a chef, you just put your head down. You're there cooking along, preparing your ingredients and cooking your dish and serving, putting all your dishes together to send each table after the next, and you're sending the next course and so on, and finishing with the cheeses, the desserts. But you need to keep in touch with the front of house. You know, sometimes people are expecting different seasoning, different even temperature in their food, but different cooking. You know, a red meat needs to be cooked differently for certain guests, and you've got to accept and understand that some customer might like it more red and some people more cooked. If it's their choice, the customer is king, with limits, of course, but you're there to please the guest. The customer is making the effort to come to you and spending time in your house. You've got to try to give as much as you can. So you've got to be really understanding towards your guest, and that's why you have to communicate with your guest, and you have to communicate internally with your team members.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Cool. So that's the end of the questions that we had got prepared for you. We're now going to move on to some of the questions that we've had submitted from students, and we had quite a lot pre-submitted, which is amazing. So we've had a question come through from Glossopdale School, who are doing a Future Pathways Day in school today. Obviously, you mentioned that you did an apprenticeship, but would you be able to run through some of the other routes into this industry, colleges or other kind of courses that a student could do?
Well, I'm not too good with my knowledge of the catering school in Great Britain, but I know there's some fantastic university and colleges and even some other schools. It could be Le Cordon Bleu. They do maybe shorter time for learning and studying, but definitely I would try to look at a normal, a good school with a 2 or 3 year apprenticeship and a chance to work in a workplace during those 2 or 3 years.
Amazing, thank you. We've then had a question come through from the St John Henry Newman School, Stevenage. That's a mouthful. You touched on this a little bit about your family, but maybe it's someone different. What or who was your driver or your biggest inspiration within your career?
Well, when my dad was still around, I used to say my uncle is my favorite chef. Now I can't lie, I can say it out and loud. I really respect my father. He was a great chef and a great man, and very skilled. Not only, as people might know, his skills in pastry, but as a cook. He was a very, very talented chef, and I've learned so much from him. But I was lucky saying that when I started in pastry, my apprenticeship, which is now retired, Denis Ruffel, was an eye-opener. He took me under his wing like a member of the family, like his son almost. And he was a great teacher. I just admired how he looked after his people and how he was working. So, and sharing his knowledge, his skills.
Amazing, thank you. And now we've had this question come through in different forms from quite a lot of different schools, which is, what is your favourite and then also your least favourite thing about being a chef?
Oh, there's so many good and bad things in life. My favorite thing is to be able to work with some great people, amazing, whatever background, age they have. It's you learn about people, and I think it's the guest as well. Your customers can be so different, and yeah, it's lovely to share and to know a bit more about them, and at the same time, it's could be simply about ingredients. You know, that chain. We are working in a chain where we can't live without beautiful ingredients, and I pull my hat towards all those people who, you know, get the fish and the meat and all those fruit, vegetables to us. Before that, there's so much going on. Farmers, fishermen, producers like that, and of course people who might do the buying or you know, bringing those goods to us, doing sometimes driving or shipping at night, any day, any kind of weather. They'll be here on time, and always seasonal, fresh produce. I think it's great. We are lucky, certainly here, to have the best of the best. Mainly ingredients from our island, from land, but as well we spend money if and when needed from ingredients from abroad, France, Italy, Spain, and other continents, I have to say sometimes. But yeah, I can simply think of things that I don't like is produce that will arrive wrapped in cling film in plastic. I just hate it. So you see, I don't need much to be upset or to be grumpy. It could be, you know, if I just think of acras, I'm not too keen in acras. They need to be really prepared and cooked properly. So I'm a bit fussy with those. Otherwise, no, I'm quite easygoing. I like everything. I love to discover, and I think anything, if it's prepared and you know, prepared with love and cooked properly and served well, it can be only good.
Yeah, I think it says a lot about how much you love your industry and your job if your least favourite thing is cling film and plastic. Yeah, there definitely could be worse. So that's good for our students to know just how much you love your industry and love your job. Amazing. So the next question we've had coming through from Burnside College, who have asked, what age were you when you realised you wanted to work with food? Obviously, you touched on this a little bit. And then has your journey within your career lived up to your expectations?
So I was about 12, 13 when I realised I was not for school, and I had to move on, and it was kind of natural for me to just move into a kitchen. It was I couldn't see myself do anything else. It was I guess my life was all about, you know, being in the kitchen with my grandmothers. Like a lot of people, I'm lucky to have I've had two great grandmothers who spend a lot of time in their kitchen and had their gardens, you going to shop in their market, in their villages, and spending time in kitchens where my dad and uncle used to work and run their businesses. So for me, it was like a second home, a restaurant. But yeah, I was about 13, 14 when I really knew that I had I was better off stopping school and moving straight into the industry as soon as possible. Otherwise, the other question was more like, what did you say? Sorry.
Whether your career or your journey has lived up to the expectations you had as a young chef?
Um, I would say yes for most of it, because I think um, as a professional chef, I can see only progression, and the standard is just rising continually with the young generation. It's not only because of technology. Yes, technology can help in any industry, even as a young chef or a young waiter, but it's just mainly the standard as an overhaul is continuing to progress, and I think it's always better to see that when you can only live and work towards improvement. So I think that's wonderful. Now, maybe one of the things I didn't realize when I was a young pastry chef or young cook is that running a business, having your own operation, when you've got everything, can be from the financial side to your whole life is dedicated to your business. It's a different story. You don't spend as much time doing what you originally liked, which was holding a pan, a pot, a spatula, and chopping with things with a knife. You pull away from that. So I know there's time for everything in life, and unfortunately, I love that cooking. Uh, you know, getting my whites dirty, but as a chef patron, running the kind of business my family's brought up, and you see, even me, I keep on expanding, extending that, and growing little at a time. It's pulling me out as what I really started and what I did in my early days. And I thought maybe I was, you know, innocent at that time. I thought I was going to just be doing that. I didn't realize that running a restaurant was a lot more than that. So especially with time and in the life we're living in, we're doing just more and more time with paperwork. It might be directly onto the screen with computers, but as well, you're socializing, and you've got to give so much time for your people and for your customer, that it's massive changes compared to when I started in the industry pretty much nearly 40 years ago.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how much you've seen the industry change since you started. So yeah, thanks for answering that one. We're having quite a lot of questions come through in the chat now, which is great. And we've had a question come through from Izzy, who would like to know, how difficult is it to get into this industry?
It's not difficult. People are scared, and I know they're even scared to apply and to approach me or one of my key members here to try to have an eye-opener and you know, if not try and spend a day or have a trial for a full-time job. People are scared. People shouldn't be scared. Any place, you have to feel confident, and approaching and trying is nothing wrong if it doesn't work. If you've got the chance to knock at any door and ask, there's always a right time and a possibility of trying to greet people, to spend a short time. It could be a day. I normally know, and my key people here with experience, they will know and recognize if someone is fit for the job or for the place. And you've got to find your fitting shoe, basically. But you've got to try in those places. Try different places before taking a decision. But you shouldn't be afraid. You know, if some place they say no to you, it's because they have a reason. But it doesn't matter. Try somewhere else.
Amazing. That's great to hear for our young people who are interested in the industry, that there are a lot of opportunities out there. And yeah, great advice there, that just keep trying. Obviously, getting knockbacks and stuff like that is part of everyone's career. So if you have had a few rejections, then just keep going, because the right opportunity is out there for sure. Amazing. So we've had a few more questions coming through now. One of them was, when did you feel that you had enough experience to start or run your own restaurant?
I still haven't got enough. I want more. I want more. No, I never felt that I've known enough, or that I know it all now. It's constantly you put yourself back into a question mark. It's like serving and cooking and serving a dish, the same dish, you know, service after service, day after day. It's you're preparing live, fresh ingredients. It's never the same. So no, it's a challenge every day. It's a different challenge even every day.
I can imagine. I guess that's also what makes this industry so great, is that, yeah, as you said before, no 2 days are the same, and you're constantly learning.
Confidence comes as it goes. You obviously need to be praised with your people around you, your peers. So listen and get the feedback. Critics, you have to understand and accept critics. You learn from those, and you learn from mistakes. I mean, my biggest lessons were from my mistakes, and we all do mistakes. It's maybe not the best way to learn, but unfortunately it can happen. But normally it's a hard way of learning, and you normally don't do the mistakes twice. That's why it's a good lesson. But yeah, confidence takes time, and normally you will feel that as you work along.
Amazing. Cool. So we've got a few more questions coming through. So we've had one come through from Finn, who has asked, how many restaurants do you own now?
Well, the Waterside Inn is a family business, so that's one restaurant. We opened with my father 4 years ago a brasserie, which is Roux at Skindles, So that's in Maidenhead, Taplow exactly, because it's on the bridge over there. So it's only about 10-15 minutes away from Bray, and it's upstream, same on the River Thames, but on the other bank. So that's the two only restaurants that the family that are owned by me. And otherwise, I've got another concept which I work for the Mandarin Oriental in Bangkok. I've opened, took over their fine dining restaurants, Le Normandie. I took over just over a year now, a year and a bit. And that's a lovely concept. But I am like a signature chef, so I look after all the food, the beverage, and I do a visit during the year, a few visits a year. And I've got 4 people, 2 in the kitchen, 2 front of house, which are you know, people from home here. The rest are Thai people. So it's a lovely hotel, a beautiful 5-star hotel. It's in Bangkok, but it's not mine. I've got a contract, and it's really, really good not to be your boss sometimes.
I can imagine. And now, following on from that, I briefly mentioned obviously heading to Thailand. Where's your favourite country in the world to travel because of their food? So what's your favourite cuisine around the world?
Oh, I've got so many likes. Maybe Asia. I mean, I love French food because France has got so much history. I mean, it will never fade. Well, fade maybe, but it won't disappear. And
Mm-hmm.
I hope not. They've got so many strong history and different specialities. You just need to drive half an hour from another town, another city, another area that you discover other things. But you know, Italian food I love as well, the Spanish as well. Nordic of North Europe is again really interesting. But Asian food, I just love it. It can be a bit too spicy sometimes, but I'm getting used to it. I'm getting
Getting better with the spice after spending time in Bangkok, I can imagine.
it's all as well. They live, food is their life. They seem to eat almost all day long, and the street food, I love it. It's my element. I could just walk and eat all day long over there.
Yeah, I have to agree. The street food element of Asia, especially Southeast Asia, is amazing. So
And
definitely agree with that one.
I again, one style of food I love is Lebanon food. I just love
Hmm.
it. It's a very clean, nice flavors, and a nice, lovely background history of specialty dishes over there.
Amazing. Cool. So we've just had a question come through from Blackpool Aspire Academy, who have asked, how did it feel when you received your first Michelin star?
Oh, I've never received a Michelin star. Uh, the Michelin star are a great award. I mean, I've been here at the Waterside 30. It's my 31 year now. I'm into. So the stars were there before because we've retained the 3-star for 38 years. At the end of this month, the 27th of March, we will know if we've retained or not the 3-star on the Michelin Guide for this year, 2023. So no, and at the end of the day, stars are not for one person.
Yeah.
The Michelin Guide, of course, they try to share and explain to people what the stars are about, and my understanding in a nutshell is a 1 Michelin star is that the food is worth talking about, and it's a good place to eat. A 2 Michelin star is definitely a place which is worth a detour and worth visiting. And a 3-star is maybe a little extra about the consistency, and definitely maybe something a bit more special than 2 stars. Saying that, as a professional chef, I still not too understanding about the difference of 2 and 3 star, and who can explain properly what it is. I don't think even the Michelin can. It's too much of a personal taste. Just in our village here in Bray, we're very lucky to have another colleague, a team which run a 3 Michelin star, the Fat Duck. Who can compare the 2 places from the location, the style of everything, of the offering of the food, of the service? It's like day and night. What is good, what is bad, is per personal choice. I think both offer something interesting. The rest is for the guides are the guides. They do their job. I take the critics, I take the awards, but I don't take them alone. The stars on the Michelin Guide is not for one person. A restaurant is never a one-man show. The stars are for the business here, for the water side, for the whole team. I can't do anything without my team. I'm lost, totally lost. And every business is like that. And if I look at other guides, the AA, I don't think I've got even 2 or 3 rosettes there. It's terrible. It's not the best standard compared to other colleagues, but it's all right. I continue to try to do better. I don't live or work for guides, for rewards, but yeah, when they're not good, it gives me a motivation to try to do better, striving, because you're never good enough. And when I get 3 star in the Michelin Guide, yeah, I'm so proud of my team. But we know what the Michelin star are all about. Like other awards with other guides, they can be there one day and they can be gone another day. It's sometimes every year the guide comes out. The Michelin Guide is every year, but they do changes during the year. Now is their latest trend, where they do additions in the guide every month. It can happen. I think it's great. You have to live with your time. But we've seen colleagues, especially in France, running and holding Michelin stars for so many years, 40, 50 years, like Paul Bocuse, et Berlin. Lately, it's been Guy Savoy in Paris. 20 years running a 3 Michelin star and losing them. It was not only him. He's still there. He's still there greeting the guest every day. He's still in the kitchen. He hasn't changed anything. If ever, he's better than the year before. It's a judgment. It's like he even said it. It's like a football match. You need to know that you can lose, and that's it. It's the score is the most important thing. You have to accept it. I accept the awards in any guide. I don't mind it. I don't mind being criticized. I'm not the best. I'm not the best. I've never asked to have 3 Michelin star. They were there before I arrived. If they're still here, it's down to my team. I'm very proud to be at the head of my team, but I could do nothing without my team.
Yeah, that's such a lovely way to think about constructive criticism and reviews and awards as well. Is that it's not just no business is a one-man band, right? You've always surrounded by incredible people, so that's such a lovely way to look at it.
And things are never there forever.
No, very true. Amazing. So just got time for a few more questions. Blackpool Aspire Academy have asked another question, which is, what do you believe are maybe some of the issues within the hospitality industry at present?
Well, one of the major ones is maybe we're seeing a lack of recruitment. And it comes that, unfortunately, the big majority of the workforce that's been happening and being seen in the country over the last decades, it's been foreigners, you know, and having our borders closed, being out of Europe, the EU, it's been the knock of an effect. It's been there. The reality is that we can't even open our doors and show our knowledge and our history or our skills to even the young generation that used to come to do stages and work training or work opportunity. We can't even have those from abroad. So how can we share and you know give to the young generation from outside? How can we represent our country now without having our borders open? So we can't have young trainee from a foreign country. We can't recruit. Our industry is being, I think it's difficult to say, but in the majority, not only here at Waterside being a French restaurant, saying that the French are not the majority in my team. I've never been, or many years ago maybe, but it's long change in the last 30 years. But we have very few French, Italian, Spanish, or other countries coming to work here because they can't. They need a EU settlement, a visa, which is impossible to have. They need to speak a fluent English for having a visa. Why would they come to England if they can already speak English? Not many people would be interested in that, and the cost of it, the time it takes. So it's already, you know, our industry is pretty much an average, I think, if I'm not right, I'm not far off. 80% of our people, our workforce are from other countries. So we're not left with much. So we're feeling the crunch. On top of that, the pandemic has been a difficult time to get back into the work, you know, rhythm, and trying to recruit has been really difficult because people are leaving the country slowly, but it's happening. We can't recruit new people from abroad, so we've got to do with what we have and to make people realize and understand that it's a great industry, the hospitality industry. That it's a job for life. It's a career that you can really climb the ladder, and you don't realize maybe what you can achieve. It's maybe not all about money. You have to be patient. Yes, you have to be patient, but it's not badly paid, and it's paid certainly in a different way when you start and you learn. You can manage to have tips as well, which is good. When you're young, that's all you need, because at the end of the day, more money you have, especially when you're young, trust my experience, more money you have, more you spend. So it's better not to earn too much. Think of the possibility of what you can gain, the path it can open, and find a good place with good people that can teach you and where you can learn and discover new things. And you will always be able to climb the ladder step after step and take more responsibility and have a role which you would maybe never have thought one day that you can run and have.
Amazing. Yeah, it's been a tough few years definitely for the hospitality industry, but what I've taken away from getting to chat to so many chefs this week is that it's a really positive and exciting time to be thinking about joining the industry as well for a lot of our young people. So yeah, thank you so much for highlighting that. Cool. So just going to do one final question, which is end on a bit of a lighter note. It's a two-pronged question. So what is your favourite dish to eat? And also, what is your favourite dish to cook?
Well, I'm not difficult for food. As I said, if something's prepared and cooked nicely, and if it's mainly with fresh ingredients, I'm a happy man. But if I have to point out one ingredient, it's not cheap. It's the fresh black truffle. So It used to be from the Périgord. Now it's been a terrible winter season for the black truffle. Unfortunately, the French truffle has been a disaster this year, very limited and crazy prices. So yeah, I can't wait for this summer to have the Australian black truffle, which is, I think, pretty much as good than the French Périgord truffle. The Milano truffle grated freshly on pasta, fresh pasta, or with eggs on an omelette or scrambled eggs, shaved or chopped. I don't mind. It's my heaven dish. Yeah.
We definitely need to stop doing these broadcasts just before lunch because, yeah, you're making me hungry. It sounds delicious. Sounds delicious.
If I get a nice hot dog, I'm happy as well. You know, I love a good hot dog.
That'll probably be what a lot of our young people will now be able to say. Okay, now I know what that is. Amazing. Well, yeah, that's all of the questions that we had prepared and a lot of them that came through. So just want to come back to you, Alan, to see if you've got any final closing comments that you'd like to leave all of our wonderful young people watching with.
No, I just wish you the best. And I think you've got to understand that patience is crucial. You've got to be dedicated and try to open your eyes before anything, before you start talking, and learn from people around you. And don't be scared. Knock at people's door, send an email, ask to have an experience, to spend a day here and there. Take the time to take a decision. Don't knock at too many doors, but try one or two, and choose, and how, see how it goes. So yeah, be patient, but don't be scared. There shouldn't be a name. The Roux name is maybe a long history name in the country. My family have achieved many things, but you shouldn't be scared to knock at my door. Like you shouldn't be scared to knock at a small countryside pub down the lane, a pizzeria, and anything that you seem to fancy or you're curious about. Get in touch with them and try to see how it is really over there. It's only when you're on site, on premises, and you meet the team that you see if it's something that would fit you and if it's worth trying to do. And don't go and work somewhere for a few weeks. Try to stick for a year. It needs to be worth it. Otherwise, you won't have time to learn what you can learn from that place, and you haven't got the chance to climb that ladder. So think of commitment. Commit yourself long enough.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today to speak to all of our students about your life and your career and give some really great advice. Hopefully all of the students watching today have taken away something really great from you. And yeah, thank you so much for giving up your time on this Friday.
It's a pleasure. You're very welcome, and I wish everybody a lovely day. Thank you.